Hello and thanks for joining me in this video today. I'm going to be showing you how to start drawing using pastel pencils. So all the tools you need to get started. So in this video I'm going to be looking at pastel pencils. The pastel pencils are what I tend to use to draw a lot of my animal commissions, my animal portraits, and these are Pitt pastel pencils. I also use some pan pastels and I use some pastel sticks. So I'm going to start off by showing you all of the basics that you need to get to draw in pastel pencils and the tools that I would recommend. Okay, so a little tip, pastels are a little bit messy and your hands do get a little bit dirty, so having a cloth to wipe your hands every now and again, like a microfiber cloth, is really handy. So why do I use pastels? Well, I find that it blends really well and you can get good detail with it. You've got vibrant colours with pastels as well, so it works really well with animals' fur. Okay, so the pencils I use are Faber-Castell Pitt Pastel pencils, and I also use Derwent pencils. I use a combination of the two for the different vibrancy of colours that you can get using two different brands sometimes. But when starting out, you can just use one set. I buy individual pencils, but I would recommend buying a simple set as a starter because they can be quite expensive. There are other brands out there that are now quite cheap with pastel sets, so it's worth looking at those. And I also tend to use some of these cheap pastel sticks, soft pastel sticks, for blending in the background, and I sometimes turn them into powder. You can then move on to pan pastels, but again these are quite expensive and not really something you need to worry about when you're just starting out. They're very soft, a little bit like makeup, but we can worry about that in later videos. And you'll also need something to sharpen your pastels with. Some people use pastel sharpeners and various other things. I stick to the basic Stanley blade. You've got to be careful, but once you've done it as long as I have, you get very used to doing it and you can do it quickly. I then use a bit of sandpaper to get a finer point on the pencil. This I find is just the easiest way. I have less breakages of the pastel pencils and I find it works really well. You then need to get some kind of tools to blend and smudge, so I use a range of things from tissue papers, soft paint brushes, blend-in knives and paper stumps. You can also use your hands. I also use erasers and even a mechanical eraser like this one. And then we move on to the paper that you want to use. Now some people will use a heavy watercolour paper or a pastel paper. I personally like to use a pastel mat. It allows me to have fine details while loading the paper with a lot of pastel. This is due to the thick tooth that the pastel mat has got. You can use it in big sheets, or if you're just starting out, it's best to buy pads of pastel mat. There are various different makes. I use Clairefontaine, but I can use, there are other brands available, some of them are cheaper. And like I said, using a smaller pad to start with gives you a little bit more value for money when you're just practicing and starting out. So quite simply, if you want to start drawing with pastels, you just need to get these items. So you're looking at pastel pencils, pastel mat paper, something to sharpen your pastel pencils with, a cloth to keep things clean, and some erasing tools. So drawing is more of a skill. A lot of people say it's a talent, but it's a skill really that you learn. I mean, very few people are lucky enough to be able to pick up a pencil and draw a masterpiece straight off. It's a lot of skill. It takes a lot of time to learn these skills, but it's there for everybody to learn. And it doesn't matter if you don't produce something wonderful at the beginning. If you enjoy it and enjoy the process, it's a very therapeutic thing to do. You can lock yourself away, put some music on, and just get lost in your drawing. I hope this video has helped you find the basic tools that you need just to get started. It's best to just use the basics and build from that rather than waste a lot of money on a lot of tools, a lot of pencils that you don't really need. And you can pick up the tools you need along the way as you progress. I've got a lot of more videos coming up which will have different stages. So good luck and I hope you enjoy drawing.